Hello there, I'm Charlie, and I have Drew.
Hello.
What are we going to be talking about, Drew?
Our great Six Flags trip in 7th grade.
That was quite a while ago, so we'll try to recall it best from memory.
Alright, in 7th grade, apparently me and Charlie were one of those players in the orchestra that are actually pretty good. And so our teacher, Mr. Freeze, he was all like, hey, how about you join the 8th graders on a once-in-a-lifetime trip to Six Flags?
And so we did. We take a bus to Six Flags St. Louis. It was like a 5-hour drive. We get there, and he puts us in groups. And in our group is you, me,
Moose, Joe,
Ethan, and a kid for keeping his identity secret. We'll call him Mendevlious Garner. Mendevlious Garner, he's not known as the best kid around.
Now, Mr. Freeze, our teacher, we ask him, we go, hey,
where's our chaperone?
Yeah, I was like, and he goes, you guys don't need a chaperone.
You are your own chaperone.
That was Mr. Freeze's biggest mistake. At this point in the trip, we thought that this was going to be great. We get a chance to play in St. Louis with some 8th graders, go and have a great day at Six Flags.
I mean, that was a big deal, especially in 7th grade, playing with 8th graders.
The first 30 minutes is going great. We're just walking in, we're getting our tickets in, we're like, oh my gosh, Six Flags, never been here, great day.
Comes lunchtime. We're right next to like a gift shop. So we go inside and we just look at stuff. Mendevlious Garner decides it'd be a great idea if he just took some candy.
He put it in his pocket and he walked out of the shop.
Without paying for it. That was
Now we had no idea when he did this. And then he walked out of the store and he's like, guys, look what I got.
And we were like, put that back. Don't do that.
Like, personally, I told him, I was like, yo, just put that back. And he's like, there's no problem. It's just candy. It's not a big deal. And I'm like, put it back. Eventually, the guy caves in and actually puts it back.
Flash forward to a little bit later. So we kind of split up. Drew and Mongoose did not want to do this super cool roller coaster called the Mr. Freeze.
It's named after our famous orchestra teacher.
Of course. Mendevlious Garner and I, we team up with Ethan, and we go on the Mr. Freeze ride. So we get off the ride. It was cool. But they were in line for another ride. We're like, well, we don't want to wait for them.
We meant to only split up in 2 groups. At this point, we have split up in 3. We got Oliver and Joe in some other group. We got me and Moose. We're like panicking, trying to find the rest of our group. And Mendevlious, Ethan, and Charlie, what did you guys go ride?
We decided to go ride the Batman.
Okay, the Batman is pretty cool, actually.
Your feet hang while you're on the ride. They're like on top of something. Here's a little foreshadowing. Mendevlious Garner was wearing slides instead of shoes like our orchestra teachers told us to.
Yeah, on the form, it specifically says, wear closed-toe shoes.
We're riding the ride. We go through all the twists and turns, and then finally we get to the end where you're just kind of waiting for the next train to load, and one of his shoes just falls off, not on any of the twists or any of the turns. It just falls off there. Ethan and I, we just kind of laugh it off because, it's no big deal. They'll just get it or whatever. We get there, and I tell him, hey, you should go ask them to get your shoe. Ethan and I will wait outside. So we did. Ethan and I waited outside, and we waited, and we waited, and we waited, and we waited.
Now, Moose and I are over here going through some mass hysteria. Like, this is a bit of an exaggeration, but we were trying to find the rest of our group. Like, we didn't purposely, mean to split up for that long. My phone was dying. Moose doesn't even have a phone, and it was just a huge problem.
Back to me and Ethan, we were waiting and so on. And then we see some security guards. There were some security guards that came up to the building. They went in, and we were very confused because this is usually not something that would call for security guards. We see them escort Mendevlious Garner out of the building. And that's where we started to really freak out. We follow them through the park until they go into a building, and then we freak out because we're alone, and we don't know where the rest of our group is, so we look, and eventually we find Drew and Mongoose. We met with another group who had an actual adult chaperone, and as we were talking to them, that's when Mendevlious...
Oh yeah, I remember that. That's when he comes out.
The security guard is like, is this boy your responsibility? And she's like, no, but I can get you in contact with the person that is. Gets in contact with Mr. Freeze, talks to him. We spend the rest of our day having fun at Six Flags.
Without Mendevlious Garner, of course.
The reason that Mendevlious had been, arrested or whatever was because instead of asking someone to go get his shoe, he went and got it himself. He ran to get the shoe, which is over like in the track, and apparently almost got himself killed.
When the ride was operating,
Yeah.
he ran underneath it to get his shoe.
So that's why they had to go escort him out of the park.
We get our nice little trophy, you know. We get on the bus, and Mr. Freeze gets on the bus, and he goes, "Drew Jones off the bus!" At this point, I am, like, scared out of my mind. So I get off the bus, and I'm, like, shaking. I'm like, oh, gosh. Because when Mr. Freeze gets mad, he gets mad. Like,
He's a great man, but when he gets mad, he gets mad.
you could see the steam come out of his ears. I walk out, and he, like, grabs me on the shoulder, and I'm like, this might be the last day of my life. He goes, "Drew, tell me what happened with Mendevlious." So I go, alright, so he stole some candy, he ran a throne ride, and Mr. Freeze, he looks into my eyes, he goes, "Did you egg him on?" And over here, like, where did that even come from? I go, "No, I did not. I told him to put back the candy, and I told him what he did was, like, a stupid thing." And guess what Mendevlious decided to do? Mendevlious accused me of egging him on. Mr. Freeze goes, and he talks my ear off and all. I'm scared. And he goes, "I am not mad at you." And this is when I know I'll live to see the next day.
We go back to school, and surprisingly enough, Mendevlious is not in orchestra the next year. He's still in school, and then like 3/4 of the way through school, he just kind of disappears.
Yeah, he just, we still have no clue where he went.
What I heard, take this with a grain of salt, but apparently he was dealing drugs.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Yeah, so I have a feeling he's in a juvenile delinquent facility or something like that. So
Or military school.
I think the moral of this story is don't run in front of roller coasters or else you will go to juvie.
And don't steal candy.
Goodbye. Thank you to Drew, and thank you to you for listening to this, even though it's extremely long. Goodbye.